about it. You read about it there.
But it could be over in the left. Yes, but it could be over in the left-hand corner. You want to walk in and say, we were the first country to put a person on the moon. We were the first country to do this. And yes, then in the corner, you talk about the things that we screwed up. That's the truth. Are we going to highlight that part, or are we going to highlight 200 years ago what we did to Indians to take over the state of California? I'm not saying we should whitewash it,
I'm just
but
asking,
what are we going to show
why
off?
is this an either or?
I don't understand why you can't sit here and just say, I disagree with politicians trying to change history. Why can't you just say that? You're like going through all these hoops trying to talk about highlighting things that you sound ridiculous.
Just say, what Dami says if he becomes, but he's a politician.
We're talking about Donald Trump.
No, if you're going to...
This celebration be pro-America, and that everything we do as a government celebrate American exceptionalism and what's good about this country. And there are people who would like to tell a negative story about our country.
Yeah,
some of it is negative, Scott.
Yeah,
some of it is negative.
Do you not think that there are parts of our history that are negative?
We're going to change what kids read about when in terms of slavery. We want people to read and kids to read that black people that were enslaved received personal benefit from it.
Hello, everybody. Guys, let's get right into this segment. These people are just getting more and more comfortable about how they really feel about black people, because we know this is what this is all about, at least 90% of it, and I'm going to call them out each and every time I catch them. Check this out and we'll talk about it.
Smithsonian museums may be getting a makeover soon. The White House has ordered a review of its exhibits to fit Donald Trump's vision of history. Quote, the initiative aims to ensure alignment with the president's directive to celebrate American exceptionalism, remove divisive or partisan narratives, and restore confidence in our shared cultural institutions. First question comes to my mind, what does that even mean?
I think people at home need to realize that the Smithsonian's, if you haven't been to Washington, D.C., I get to see them all the time. I take them for granted riding by them. They're beautiful and they're free.
They're free.
They're free.
Yeah.
Not free, that they pay for them with all of our tax dollars, and they want people to come in and learn about the history of America. And guess what, boys and girls? Not all the history is beautiful. Not all the history is what you want it to be, but it's the history. And we learn from our history, and it makes it really good. And I like it. As a guy who never went to college, we talk about this, I find it fascinating to go into these things and learn things, like a little boy learning things. And they're ours. So any changes to this is not good. And I'm not talking about just African Americans or Mexicans or whoever else out there thinks that they're going to be slighted. You go to the Native American Museum, you'll cry at what we've done to Native Americans, because we should learn from that and learn to be better people all the time. And so this drives me nuts.
Yeah. It's also scary because we're talking about, we're in the time now where politicians are trying to rewrite history. I mean, this is happening in my state of Florida a few years ago. Ron DeSantis came out in his Board of Education and said, you know what, we're going to change what kids read about when in terms of slavery. We want people to read and kids to read that black people that were enslaved received personal benefit from it. So I just don't, why are Republican politicians so comfortable with going in and trying to change history and the way our students are learning about where our nation has been and where we're going?
Scott Jennings is so repulsive. He just has his eyes rolled the entire time. Like, so disgusting. What did he say that was wrong? And Mr. Frost, I can answer that question for you. And I'm sure you know the answer, but you are far more classy and professional than I choose to be. It's because they are bottom of the shoe bigots. More importantly, I try to emphasize this, is that Republican politicians are just feeding their voters what they want to hear. I call it their favorite pet treat. Here's a little racism and bigotry for you. That's a good little boy. And it keeps them loyal and slobbering for more from their owners. Republicans wouldn't do this if they didn't think it was popular with conservatives. Or if you prefer the term, that's a good little boy. Sit, good boy.
It's a very scary thing.
It's an important question. I mean, why does history have to be, I don't know, like just whitewashed in a way that only represents America in one particular way? Why can't it just be accurate?
Well, when I read the White House statement, they do want the historical exhibits to be accurate. So this is one of those situations where nothing has happened yet. A letter has gone out that they would like to talk to the Smithsonian about the content of the exhibits, but nothing has actually happened. So you don't actually know what, if any, changes are going to be made. We are in the midst of getting ready to celebrate our country's 250th anniversary. I can tell you this, it is of vital interest and importance to the White House that this celebration be pro-America, and that everything we do as a government celebrate American exceptionalism and what's good about
I
this
think
country.
that
And
is
there
a
are
separate-
people
I
who
think
would
that's
like
a
to tell a
separate
negative
topic.
story about our country.
Yeah,
And I
but
don't
that-
think
Some of
we
it is negative, Scott.
Yeah, I
Some
mean,
of it is
do,
negative.
Do you not think that
I mean,
there
yeah,
are parts
if-
of our history that are negative?
Of course, but what the parts of our country and our longevity and what we've built and what we've corrected and how we've improved and the progress we've made, that is the story of American exceptionalism. And that's what they want to portray.
If you're a child and you want to teach your child where America has come from, how do you even do that without getting into the nitty-gritty of the good, bad, and the ugly? And to answer your question about how do we know what they're going to do, well, we already kind of know what they've done so far. March 28th, Trump targets improper ideology at the Smithsonian in an effort to shape arts and culture and history. February 13th, transgender and queer erased from the Stonewall Uprising National Monument website. Gay rights icon Harvey Milk's legacy slighted by decision to rename a Navy ship. War heroes and military firsts are among 26,000 images flagged for removal in the Pentagon's DEI purge. Some of those flagged simply because, for example, the Enola Gay use the word gay in it. It's completely even out of context because they're just using keywords to search for things that seem like DEI.
Look.
And they tried to take funding. I forget if they actually gone through with it for the African American exhibits. Like, we all know what's happening here. And Abby's right. How the hell do you explain the history and success of this country without explaining how you wiped out the natives viciously from this land? That without the enslavement of black people in this country, it wouldn't be anywhere where it is now. Or how the immigrants that have come through the centuries helped to build this nation to where it is now. How do you explain that?
Every country has horrible parts of its history. I mean, you can find me one that doesn't, and I'll throw you a bouquet. I think what the president is looking at, and I don't know this personally, but what are we going to highlight? Are we going to highlight that this young man who is probably going to win to be the mayor of the city of New York came over here as an immigrant, and now he may be the mayor of the city of New York? Find me another country where that happens in 2025. It is not a common thing. So are we going to highlight that part, or are we going to highlight 200 years ago what we did to Indians to take over the state of California? I'm not saying we should whitewash it,
I'm just
but
asking,
what are we going to show
why
off?
is this an either or? I mean, do you really
Because it's
want
what you're going to highlight. You always highlight
but
something.
do you really want a history in which you ignore
Okay.
what
Let
happened
me
to
just say
Native
one more thing.
Americans in
Do
this
you
country?
You want to walk into the Air and Space Museum and talk about the two Challengers that exploded, or do you want to talk about?
You read
want,
about it.
or-
You read about it
yes,
there.
but it could be
Have you
over in
been?
the left. Yes, but it could be over in the left-hand corner. You want to walk in and say, "We were the first country to put a person on the moon. We were the first country to do this." And yes, then in the corner you talk about the things that we screwed up. That's the truth.
This is
So, amazing. Amazing. So you want part of black history to be in the corner. You go in the effing corner. Effing evil Mr. Clean over here. And how dare you mention Mom Donnie? Why don't we celebrate something like that when it's your party talking about we're going to have another 9/11? Like, this guy is such a piece of garbage. I mean, you have to be an attorney for Ghislaine Maxwell. In the corner, the thing, so slavery, to teaching about slavery, we put that in the corner. You go in the effing corner.
Very Russia coded.
Yeah.
You know, the first
I didn't say to
thing,
erase it. It's what you highlight versus what you.
Yeah,
I'm not saying you should
another word
disappear.
for what you're saying is propaganda. And
So you want to talk about the Columbia blowing up? Let's walk into the Air and Space
Yeah, let's
Museum
talk
and
about
talk
it so
about
we never
Columbia
do it
blowing
again.
up.
Let me just
But
talk.
what about the accomplishments?
okay. Hold on, Arthur.
Can I-
Go ahead, Desi.
Just let me get a thought out. One of the first things Russia did after it invaded Ukraine illegally was have the Ministry of Culture review all the museums to make sure that they were sufficiently pro-Russian exceptionalism. It took over around 40 museums in Ukraine. It turned one museum in Mariupol, Ukraine, into the Museum of Andrei Zvanov, who was Stalin's propaganda minister. This stuff happens all the time in totalitarian and authoritarian countries that want to whitewash history for the benefit of propaganda. It's not about highlighting, putting one thing in this corner versus that corner. It's the difference between history and propaganda. And museums should not be in the business.
So should we wipe out
of
Columbus?
propaganda.
Congressman, Mamdani says if he becomes mayor, he's wiping out Columbus. The statue comes down, and we should forget about Christopher Columbus. Is that okay?
No, I'm
should
Italian.
learn to
I'm
treat
proud
it
of
in
Columbus.
entirety.
According to you, it wouldn't be okay.
No,
But
I
you know,
never
I
said
don't
that.
understand why you can't sit here and just say, I disagree with politicians trying to change history. Why can't you just say that? You're like going through all these hoops
I don't
trying to
think
talk about
I don't think
highlighting
you're trying
things
to
that you
change
sound
history.
ridiculous.
But
Just say,
what
we're not
Mamdani
politicians.
says
We're
if
not
he
talking
becomes,
about- we're
but he's a
talking about Donald
politician.
Trump. We're talking about Donald Trump.
No, if you're going to upset about the right wing doing something, are you upset about the left wing doing something?
Look, one of
Mamdani's
the-
not said he's going to go into
No,
institutions
but no, he
within
said he's going to
museums in
take
here and
down
change
the
things.
statue of Christopher Columbus, which is
Listen,
a
Arthur,
historic landmark.
One of the
F. Christopher Columbus. Ask the natives of this country what they think of him. We have a lot of great people from this country's history. Why we celebrate that man is beyond me. And I get the argument, he's a man from his time. But we have so many people to look up to. I just don't see anything that he did. He's a colonizer. I'm sorry, but there's nothing I can see that he did that is amazing. Thank you. Like, a country that celebrates Martin Luther King and Christopher Columbus. How the F does that make any sense? Like, they're going to end up changing this country into like North Korea. And for sure, this kind of crap, this what leads to lies and propaganda and thinking your president is a supreme leader.
the things about Trump is that he forces people to think about politics in areas that they've never thought about politics before. Most Americans never thought that the president of the United States would have their hand in Smithsonian exhibits, and he is doing that right now. And I can't think of a single good reason why.
Yeah, the last time we sort of talked about the changing of historical exhibits was when all these angry mobs all over the country tore down historical statues all over the place, and the people who seemed to be angriest about the Smithsonian review were cheering that on. So I agree with you. Occasionally, parts of our society do look
Put
into
those statues in
history.
museums.
And so no, they
That's
didn't
not
look
allowed.
like
Teddy Roosevelt's statues gone.
We're talking
they didn't
about
look like they
learning
were putting them in
entirety
museums when they
of-
were tying
we-
ropes around them and dragging them down.
I'm
You may
not-
be misremembering how it happened, but that's what happened.
I'm not here to justify people tearing things down and this and that. But I just think it is grand that right at this table, I can't hear from both of you. You can't even just say politicians should not be editing our history and trying to change our history. That's what
I don't
they're
believe
doing.
they're changing our history. I don't believe that that's
It
what
is
they're doing.
what he has been trying to do.
All right, we got to leave it there, Congressman.
And Abby had a question there. She doesn't understand one good reason. Oh, I can give you a good reason. It's this racist red meat, right? Distraction from the Epstein files, right? Again, Trump is throwing everything, but he knows what his voters like. He knows. And like, again, if you're a Republican, conservative, whatever, independent, and you don't think of yourself as a racist, why does something like this bother you so damn much? Why does it offend you so much? Like, what is wrong with these creatures? These people are just completely psychotic. To even be thinking about this as you live your life, that it's unfair that we need to learn about how white people had enslaved black people in this country, or how Christopher Columbus or what was done to the Native Americans. Really? That bothers you so much to learn about that? The truth? Like, these people know the answer, and you're just too cowardly to say it out loud. And don't worry, I'll do it for you each and every time I catch one of you bigots. Twisting yourselves into pretzels. Trying to justify why it makes sense. Oh yeah, put that kind of history in the corner. You go in the effing corner. How dare this? That's why I say I don't know if I could be on one of these panels. And guys, I want to say something. My last bit of rant here. I was born and raised in this country and learned the history. And it never made me hate America. In fact, it made me like America and love America more. That we came from something, not that happened, but that we can redeem ourselves somewhat from that till now. And that we still have progress to be made. Right? It made me feel hopeful that we can progress as people. It didn't make me hate America. Of course, it made me hate the history. But it made me proud. Right? And it made me hopeful that we can go further for other clear injustices that are still lingering. Like black people, for instance, which is the most glaring one, I think. Any progress towards fixing that injustice against black people has been stifled each and every way till this very day. Calling people DEI hires. And I think that's the core of the issue, is that they don't want a new generation to learn how they mistreated people of color throughout history, or what they did to the natives. Because then it would be harder for them to continue their mistreatment. The more you are informed as to who really these people are and what they've done. That's what it's about. And how much it echoes, how some of that echoes in what you see today with the Republicans and the conservatives. They do not want you making that connection. That's what it's about. That's why conservatives hate, despise education, science. They don't want you knowing the truth. They want you to seek truth from them and only them, while they get their Ivy League degrees and tell your ass not to go to school. But this is why history is important. You'll read that time and time again, the racists and bigots always lose. But I'm going to leave it there. This segment got me really pissed off. Evil Mr. Clean there. F that dude. I'm going to leave it there, guys. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments. Please leave a like, subscribe. Really helps the channel, really helps push the message out there. And I'll catch you in the next one.